Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Yom Abda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshimaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome to our Panchadasi class, my good friends and students. We have seen we are still in the third chapter. We are coming to the end of we're in the beginning of the third chapter, the fourth chapter, no? The fourth, right? Yeah. We are on we have seen the 14th, in which the verse 14, which says that in the Vedas there is a description of duality that's created by taking the self to be a Jiva. It says by thought and action, Jiva creates 7 kinds of foods, okay? So these 7 kinds of foods are 7 different ways Jivas consume experience, okay? So as mentioned in the wake state, Jiva is an inveterate consumer. The Mandukya Upanishad says that we have 18 mouths, 10 sense, being 10 sense organs, 5 pranas, mind, intellect, in the ego, and we consume 7 kinds of foods, okay? So now we are meant to begin from the verse 15. And then he begins talking about the kinds of food. Grains of ferment, the vibrations of the full moon and new moon sacrifice are for the gods. So it seems that the vibrations of the full moon and new moon, well, the new moon sacrifice, they see these vibrations as a sacrifice, and they are for the gods. So they are foods for the gods. So this is a verse that it comes more or less in response, as a continuation of the verse 14, because here we mention the Swami, the verse, Vidyaranya mentioned 7 kinds of foods for the Jivas. And then here there is something mentioned about that. And it's not elaborated by Ramji. As we go on with this Panchadasi, especially after we enter in the 5th chapter, we will find less and less elaboration and more the verses only, or with somehow just something without elaborating, okay? So I remember that when we did the Panchadasi, James, if I remember correct, did not go beyond the 5th chapter, and it covered what he could cover in a week there in the, how is the name of the place there? The famous place in Washington State there, Trout Lake. So he covered some of it, and then after some time he published that book, which had some elaboration, more or less somewhere there around the 4th chapter. There was some elaboration, but the rest of it is basically only the verse, okay? So it is said that the Panchadasi can be presented in its first 5 chapters. You understand? The 5 chapters gives already a good presentation with Panchadasi, and Swami Paramarthananda used to teach only 10 chapters, the first 5 and then the second 5, okay? And only once, if I remember correctly, Swami Paramarthananda explored the last 5 chapters that are very beautiful, because I listened to the audios. Okay, the last 5 verses, they are very beautiful. And so now we are coming to a situation here in which we following this book of Inquiry into Existence, which is a condensation of the Panchadasi, and especially after the chapter 4 or 5, you understand? So it does not give us much base on which I can unfold these teachings. Why? Because there are things that I don't know the meaning. I don't know the symbology. For example, here, grains of ferment, the vibrations of full moon and new moon, sacrifice. Those are sacrifice for the gods. So there is a lot of symbolism there that is somehow is rooted in the culture, in the Vedic culture, and I would need to go and do some research in the transcriptions of Swami Paramarthananda. So I came today, and then I opened, and then I said, oh, I need to do this. And then I began looking into the material of Swami Paramarthananda, and I couldn't find it because it had a different, he does not break the verse this way. It goes forever, 100, 200, 200, and they keep the verse in Sanskrit, which makes things a little bit more difficult for us. So we are coming to a point that I have to improvise with some speculation here. If you guys have some knowledge about the symbolism behind this passage, because there are a lot of these aspects of the teachings, which you see, James never got much into unfolding these aspects of the teaching. First, because the Western people do not relate much to that. Second, because it's not really essential for self-knowledge and freedom. Okay. And third, because there are very few people interested in that level of exposition of Vedanta. It's already difficult to get people interested in Vedanta when you present the more practical aspects of the teachings. When you go into this level, colored by a lot of symbolisms or very philosophical Brahma Sutras, and then the crowd starts disappearing more and more and more. Vedanta is of that nature. Huh? So we could say there are no customers. And Ramji, knowing that, he avoided that, and he kept unfolding the simpler, more useful, more practical, more to the point, essential for self-inquiry and self-knowledge. So having said so, here we say milk is for the lower animals. Mind, speech, and vital airs are for the self. These are the 7 kinds of food. So milk, mind, speech, and vital air. So there are 5 vital air. Mind, speech makes 7, okay? And then milk is for the lower animals, and then mind, speech, and the five pranas are for the self. These are the 7 kinds of food. So it does not say much. I mean, I don't know much what to make of that. If you guys did some research, please help me out. Otherwise, I will do some research, and then next week we come back to these 2 verse 15 to 16. So please let me know if you can help.
Arlindo, I was looking at it seems to me that these 2 verses are relate to the karma kanda. It's about Jiva's relationship with Isvara, perhaps. And like Swami P calls it, a tennis match, give and take, back and forth, a beautiful cycle of life on that level. Yeah. And it reminds me of a good friend of mine who is a witch. And basically what she does is she worships the devatas, the elements.
As the element,
That's,
yeah.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
seems to me it's like comes out of that simple, beautiful culture.
definitely, yeah. Yeah. And the previous verse gives an indication to that, that Jiva creates 7 kinds of foods, So Jiva sees the elements, the objects as opportunity to consume, and it projects values. And then it starts just relating to these kinds of foods. And then here on this verse, he says about grains are for men, and the vibrations of full moon and new moon sacrifice are for gods. So I still I have a hard time to say anything about this, especially the second part of this verse. The vibrations of full moon, the vibration sacrifice of full moon and new moon for the gods. So that there must be some meaning there that James did not even touch here. Okay, he only says that humans eat food. So far, so good. The vibrations of the sacrifice are the thoughts of the Jivas when they worship of elements. So if we look, and most probably he picked up from the explanations of Swami Paramarthananda, there are some thoughts of devotion, as Lin was saying, the devotional thoughts is sacrificial thoughts, because rather than being thoughts about consuming objects, you are having thoughts of devotion and reverence towards the element, God as the element. So it could be a sort of sacrifice, but why, how the full moon and the new moon comes into that play, I don't know. You understand? There is some symbolism there. Maybe it has to do with growing food. I don't know. So worship of the elements. Here there is a commentary. Jivas, they worship the elements, meaning to say they observe, respect, and enjoy. I mean, they have reverence towards the environment. They take care of the environment. They see Isvara manifest as the elements. The consciousness in the elements are called the gods. So as we know, every inert element is somehow permeated by consciousness. So God consciousness pervades everything and is within everything, even the inert physical material world. So the consciousness in the elements is called the gods, as Lin was saying. This means that the environment in which the Jivas live responds to them, because the environment is alive with consciousness. It's alive. It's a, how you say, it's a cycle, a feedback loop. So it responds to their mind, speech, and vital airs. And then here we have 7 kinds of food. Make it possible for consciousness to eat or consume experience. But then this mind, speech, and vital airs would be less kind of 7 kinds of food, but 7 mouths consuming food. You understand? Mind, speech, and vital air make it possible for consciousness to eat or consume food experience. Yeah, it's kind of a 7 mouths, as we say. We are consumer of this food. What is the food? The mental, the verbal. We consume experience, through the words, through the thoughts, and the vital. So it's to me, it's I don't like to speculate on things that I don't really have an understanding. So I will dig into the materials of Swami Paramarthananda. I did not have time, and then I had to quit to see if I see his unfoldment of these 2 verses. Okay, so I'm gonna make a note and not forget. I'm gonna look for it, and if you, Lynn, you find it, so help me out. Send it to me, the page in which there is a section there that is Panchadasi chapter 1 to 5 or 1 to 6. So I looked in there, but I couldn't find it, especially because the verse are in Sanskrit. So, but that's the idea. And then we're going to see how it goes, because right away here we have the verse 18. Because objects are created by Isvara and are converted into objects of experience and enjoyment by the Jiva, they are related to both Isvara and Jiva, just as a woman is related to both her parents and her husband. Okay, so I can play with this verse. It's not something much colored by a lot of symbolism or Vedic culture, but it's still in here. There is no exposition. There is no unfoldment from Swami Paramarthananda or James or Ramji. Objects have no intrinsic value. This we know. Jivas vasanas convert objects into experience, into objects of likes and dislikes. Okay, so again, I can unfold, I can comment, I can do some commentaries on this. Objects are created by Ishvara and are converted into objects of experience and enjoyment by the Jiva. So we have two orders of reality, as we know. So Ishvara, it projects, with the power of Maya, it projects the pratibhasika, the vyavaharika, the world as it is, which basically is the 5 elements with infinite numbers of configuration. So now we have the physical material universe is there, and it has a relationship to Ishvara as what? As, we are just the 5 elements here, and there is nothing. We have no value. As far as Ishvara, we have no value. I mean, the elements may be even a little bit resentful towards Ishvara, because Ishvara projects the elements and makes the elements absolutely deprived of value, And then the same universe, it has a different relationship to the Jivas, because the Jivas, when they find the elements, it gets all excited because Jiva projects value, through its vasana is going to project values, and then the Jiva are going to be excited with the elements, and the elements are going to be somehow excited with Jivas, because it's going to play, oh, that guy loves me, oh, that other guy hates me, and then the elements may begin having some problem of low self-esteem and so on, because some people do not like some aspects of the physical world. So just playing a joke. But there are 2 ways, the elements, this Vyavaharika relates to Ishvara as just pure elements deprived of value, or to the Jivas as the elements stuff filled, impregnated with value, and the Jiva is the one giving value to the inert, neutral, the value neutral, fundamentally value neutral elements. So the same way that the same woman, the same universe relates to her parents and her husband. So the universe relates to Jiva and Ishvara from different angles. So that much I can say. And if you want to say something else about the verse 18, you are most welcome. If we look into the transcription of Swami Paramarthananda, most probably we'll find 2 pages of exposition, coloring even more, with some nice metaphors and examples, which are very rich and beautiful, and I love them. But they are time consuming. So I haven't shared with you, but from the 3rd to the 7th, I'm traveling to São Paulo, and I'm teaching for the first time the Mandukya. And and the same thing. So I try to get the structure of the Mandukya that James taught once there in Oregon, which was a very concise version of the Mandukya. And then I get I get so much hooked with the expositions of Swami Paramarthananda that I end up getting myself into trouble. I found the transcriptions of Swami Paramarthananda, and then now I am having a hell of work translating, editing, studying, and and oh my God, it's a lot of work. So I'm almost regretting I got into this Mandukya business now. And most probably I'm gonna have to do part 1 in these 5 days and part 2 in during the carnival next year. So I'm not having much time to dig into this, but the ideal situation would be almost like shifting from this book, inquiry into existence, into the transcription of Swami Paramarthananda, okay, which would be better, I would say, richer for us, even if we cover only until the chapter 5. We say this is Panchadasi, chapter 1 to 5. Or if we have enough people helping, we can expose, we can work on the chapter 1 to chapter 10 as well. Because if we want to go page by page with Swami Paramarthananda, this Panchadasi, I don't know, but maybe more than 1,000 pages, or not, something like that. So that's the situation here. Okay, we keep moving here. But as soon as I'm done with the Mandukya business here in Brazil, and then we're going to have to make some decision here and see what we want to do in regards to the Panchadasi. The verse 19, Isvara is responsible for the functions of the subtle body, which cause Jivas experience of objects. So the Jiva experience objects, and we know because we firsthand we have that experience of experiencing the world. So, but as we know, we do very little about that. Everything is provided to us by Isvara. So Isvara gets our pranas and the physiological system, the organs of speech, the action and reception. So everything is there being provided by Isvara. It's responsible for the functions, of the five senses, the 5 organs of actions, mind, intellect, ego, and then we have the full functionality of the Jiva Atma, and this is all being provided by Isvara. But Jiva still has a certain responsibility because we need to experience the object in a certain way, in conformity with the laws governing the Dharma field and extracting knowledge, because it seems to be the name of the game here is to extract knowledge from experiencing the physical material world. So we have Isvara provides the Vyavaharika and provides us with all the functions by which we can contact the 5 senses, contact the 5 respective objects, and then all the other functions of the intellect and the emotional and memory system, all of that, and the pranas, everything is supplied by Isvara. And that Isvara, more often than not, has no recognition of the blessings, given to us by Isvara. I mean, we are here, we are living, we have a total appreciation of our life. We love to exist. We would like to exist for a little longer. But we fail a lot of the times to understand that all the functions of our 3 bodies, our 2 bodies, the subtle and the physical body, because the causal body has no function. Basically, they are all given, they are prasads from Isvara so that we can experience the objects, okay? So the functions of the subtle body are perceiving, thinking, feeling, willing, remembering, among others. We know that is discriminating, determining, choosing as well. Remembering is there. desiring, yeah, feeling. So all of that, plus other functions relate to the organs of actions as well. So there are all these functions of the body. But under the spell of avidya, Jiva thinks it's perceiving, thinking, feeling, willing, and remembering. Again, the same concept. There is nothing new there. So it is the fundamental misunderstanding. So the Jiva believes that he's doing the perception and the thinking, the determining, the feeling. I is owning the experience that happens due to the blessings of Isvara, because Isvara is providing us with the instruments by which we perceive the world, and not even the thoughts, the thinking process. It reminds me of James say, okay, if you really believe you think, tell me what you're going to think in 30 seconds. What are you going to think in 1 minute? So we think, but very rarely we deliberately think, because our thinking process springs from the causal body, the tendencies, the predispositions, propensities to think and experience the world in a certain way. So the Jiva is not just a mechanical, automatic thing. It has some input of its own, the way it thinks. Yes, we need to learn to think in the lines of the scriptures, because the scriptures are the manual, is the way by which we can experiencing this universe and grow and get out of here, if we desire to get out of here. Okay, so we need to know how to experience, and for that reason we need to align our thinking process with the thoughts proposed in the scriptural revealed knowledge called Vedanta Upanishads. So Avidya is there, and think Jivas are going to think totally based on one's likes and dislikes, desires and fears. And he believes that I am thinking, I am feeling, I am digesting, I'm doing this, I am, remembering, and those are functions, and the Jiva is just called to be there, exercise a certain degree of free will, which allows us to align ourselves, our life, with the cosmic laws, dharmic laws that governs the Dharma field. That's all we need to do. You understand? Otherwise, everything else is provided by Isvara, but we need to know how to direct our thought, feelings, words, actions, in a way that is totally harmonized with the Dharma field. So, but we have this problem of avidya, is beginningless ignorance, that compels human beings to think according to the limited notions of oneself as someone who needs things, and wants things at any cost. So my likes and dislikes are going to compromise my thinking process and my intellectual faculty of discrimination as well, because I will discriminate and desire only what gives me sensory satisfaction or security and so on. So therefore, Isvara is responsible for all of these, in the subtle body, and the Jiva should be thankful. I think it's a common sense. We are thankful when we are giving things. Usually we thank the other part, okay? So that old example, somebody invites you for a dinner, okay? So at least you take a flower, or you take the dessert, if you like dessert. Okay, or you just say like, okay, so I haven't brought anything, but I will wash the dish. How about that, Claudio? We give something back to Isvara. At least we give our gratitude. At least we give our reverence. At least we give our thoughts and actions that are going to support the structure of the Dharma field. You understand? So we try to help Isvara to keep this place structured in a way that it can serve its purpose of allowing Jivas to get knowledge and grow. Anything from you guys?
I was just thinking, it's as you always say, it's a cycle. It's a whole. It's really all one thing.
Can you elaborate a little more again about the cycling?
The give and take,
Mm.
Jiva and Isvara all the time.
Yeah.
And the rest of Vyavaharga, it's all one conscious, pulsing, beautifully responding cycle.
Yeah, that's a nice picture to see the Dharma field as infused with godness, with consciousness, and then we play. It's very malleable, in a way that it can provide us with enjoyment according to our vasanas. It can provide us with pain as well according to our vasanas, and we get caught up in the game of pleasure and pain according to our vasanas until we understand the system, the game, and then we become equanimous in respect to all these configurations, and we just see everything as the beauty of Isvara, the intelligence and the beauty of Brahman manifests by the power of Maya, and then we are no longer caught into these vasanas, which are based on our likes and dislikes. Yeah, so that is the game of life, it seems. The substance of the material objects created by Isvara is permanent. It's just elements, just inert matter/energy, of course. And the objects transformed by Maya affects Jivas differently according to their vasanas. So now we have Maya comes to the place in these 3 verses. It says that objects, they are transformed by Maya, So Maya is going to transform the objects which are inert and value neutral. They are going to transform them into objects of likes and dislikes. So who does that? So we say, oh, the Jiva does that. But then here, Maya comes into play as the villain, because Maya is responsible for a varana that is going to cover up the fullness and completion of the Jiva Atma. And then it's going to compel the Jiva Atma to project values in the objects which fundamentally are inert. So here it's Maya. Maya is going to trick the Jivas, affect the Jivas, and makes the Jiva project value on the object, because the Jivas intuitively knows that I am free, limitless Brahman consciousness. Okay, and if I feel limited here, I need to do something to remove this thing, this sensation, which is not inherent to my true nature. And then ignorantly, we try to do that by projecting value into the objects. So Maya is going to affect Jivas differently, in meaning because every Jiva is going to have different projections towards the object. This is going to be according to Jiva's vasanas. So one person may feel very happy on obtaining a certain object, whereas another person may feel disappointed on obtaining the same object. A disinterested Jiva will feel nothing in the presence of an object. So there are 3 kinds of objects. Actually, there is only one kind of object, which is the 5 elements. But then they, of course, they unfold themselves into the chemical elements and a variety of configurations of different elements, as we call. But the fundamental elements are the 5 elements as we know. So these elements, okay, they are going to have a certain power to attract us or repulse us. But there are some objects that are not going to have any power. They are going to be somehow objects of disinterest. Okay, so a person who is disinterested seems to be a depressed jiva. Yeah. Oh my God, the guy does not have any attraction or repulsion. It seems to be that. Yeah. So there are three kinds of objects: objects of repulsion, objects of attraction, and objects of disinterest. Okay. So when we have no interest in an object, it means to say that somehow, there is a balance between our likes and dislikes, and that object does not say much about my like and dislike. Okay, does not say much about my, but it's not the wisdom that allows the Yanni to understand that the objects fundamentally have no value, that I am projecting value to the objects. So the Yanni is the one who is converting the objects of likes and dislikes and objects of disinterest. But this disinterest, as I like to say, it's not a negative lack of interest. It's a positive lack of interest, okay? You are no longer interested in the shape, color and form of that object as a mean to complete you, but you are just enjoying, the magic show created by Maya Ishvara. You see the object, whoa, look at that, how beautiful, how incredible this Maya, this illusionist, and people go crazy for this kind of object, and they get in so much trouble. I have a situation in my son in Brazil. I'm gonna say that without mentioning the name, and of course, because I know that this person does not understand English, and none in Brazil will relate what I'm saying to this person. No, not to say that the Brazilian people here, they don't like to watch my English class. They have so much materials in Portuguese. But anyhow, this person has been helping me for years. But I always knew that this person had a huge vasana of finding the soulmate, soulmate, as we say, my beloved one, and so a good vasana, spiritual vasana, Vedantic vasana, but this other vasana, here and there, after some time being out, she would come back to a seminar in my presence, and then she would expose herself a little bit, and then I would see that vasana coming up strong and deluding her. And then what happened? So she fell for this vasana recently, and she's crazy about that, And first she fell for this guy, and she thought that she was going to convert the guy in a Vedanti. And then I told her, you cannot do that. It's very rare to find a person interested in self-inquiry and self-knowledge. And so don't believe that that's going to be the case. If that's the case, it's going to be a rare exception to the rule. And then the next thing I hear, they are already tripping to buy a land and build a house together. Okay, I mean, just after a few months of a relationship. The next thing, Maya tricks the people, and then they are already trying to put up a house in a place where the associations there, the people around there, they are just spiritual kindergarten people, And so a lot of delusions, just because the person has a strong vasana for a certain object, which is my beloved who is going to complete me. This object is a big one, you understand? And so we have this object. The Yanni is the one who is going to see this object and going to say, no way, Maya, you are not going to delude me. I'm not going to get myself in all this trouble and then have to deal with the conflicts, and then potential separations, and then owning a property together, And I mean, there are so much potential for trouble, for conflict, all because the person has a strong like, a strong attraction to an object, which is one's own projection. So the yan is disinterested. It's going to feel the beauty of everything, but it's not going to fall for this trick, of Maya. Maya is going to transform, these objects and make them affect the Jivas with this incredible, powerful force of attraction and repulsion, and then the Jivas live a life like that, disturbed mentally. And these energies are going to attract and repulse. And then when you see, boom, the Jiva gets attached to something, and then life becomes much more complicated, and then a lot of karma follows, and a lot of work to clear the karma and conflicts. You know what I'm talking about, huh? So it's good that we passed that stage, huh, Lynn? We are older and wiser. Huh? We are not going to fall, at least for that trick of Maya. Huh? So one person may feel happy. A disinterested Jiva will feel nothing in the presence of an object. Oh, yes, okay, I want to be a flat, depressed, non-interested Jiva. And they say, ooh, no, man, passion is everything in life, Don't fall for this depressive state of the yanis, because it makes no sense, okay? So no, I mean, you have to understand where the yanis are coming from. It's just knowledge, wisdom in respect to the Vyavaharika. You know that fundamentally everything that is projected upon Vyavaharika is just one's vasanas, one's likes and dislikes, and it's always ends up, almost invariably, it ends up with trouble, That's why there is this vow of becoming a sannyasi, walking away from the game of life, and avoiding a lot of consequential trouble that comes with this interaction, which is also school. Because one thing is to have the clarity of mind to say, no, I'm a sannyasi, I'm not going to get into this Maya. I'm not going to get into this. I'm out of here. I'm a sannyasi. Another thing is, okay, I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to get out of here because, because I don't want to effort. I don't want to go through the trouble of following my desires, but my desires are still strong. No, if the desires are still strong, it means that you're still under the power of Maya's force of attraction, repulsion, and you need to work it out. You need to learn your lesson, you need to navigate through those attractions and repulsions and get in trouble, come out of trouble until you get ready to become a sannyasi. Sannyasi is the one who renounced the game of life. I don't want to play the game. I want to have no interest in the world. I just want to watch and appreciate the world, but I don't want to fall for these tricks of Maya. Material objects, gross and subtle, are value neutral, as we know, as they are inert. They are projections of Maya Isvara. Yet, they are permanent fixtures in Jiva's world, because Jiva belongs to Isvara's world. Yet, they are permanent fixture in Jiva's world. So it's always there. We cannot finish, we cannot remove that fixture, which is the Vyavaharika. Jiva belongs to Isvara, is integral part of Isvara. Jiva is an object shining with consciousness, but still it's there and it's living within this permanent fixture of the projection of my Isvara, which is the material physical world, which is relatively permanent. It's relatively permanent because, as we know, there is such a thing as alaya and in pralaya. Pralaya is when the end of times come and everything returns to its seed potential formation. But relatively, it is eternal. It's permanent, although it appears to end from time to time. Jivas do not experience objects, they experience their vasanas. This is a very common statement in Chinese world. James likes that statement. I don't know if he brought that one, but it's very much to the point. I experience my projections, my vasanas, my desired object, because the desired object is just an imagination that something or another is going to complete and give me satisfaction. But whereas the satisfaction is not come from that object, I project joy and satisfaction, but it comes from my state of mind when I remove that stressor, when I remove that desire itself that is preventing me from enjoying this inner satisfaction. So Jivas experience the vasanas. They create. Now we talk about the creation of Jiva, which is a superimposition of the Vyavaharika, is the Pratibhasika. They create by desiring, projecting value on objects, and projecting, how you say, non-value to certain objects. The opposite of value would be what? So what would be the opposite of value? Okay, so we project. Yes, Mark.
I was going to say neutrality. If we don't project value onto it, it's like, yeah, so what?
Yeah, but this is the indifference.
Non-interest.
Yeah, that is the disinterest. But we project value, and we project, how you say, we project danger, we project pain, we project some things that are detrimental to my security and peace and satisfaction. Okay. You understand? That would be the opposite of projecting value.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Can be also be related to dispassion.
Dispassion is this positive indifference, is positive disinterest in the object. But it's not depression again, okay? It is just wisdom that allows the Yanni to see the objects as manifestations of the powerful Maya, but intrinsically without real value. So our vasanas are going to create the pratibhasika. The pratibhasika is my subjective reality. The way I see the world, my world, personal world, is colored by my likes and dislikes. And the world of Claudio is colored by his likes and dislikes. I see my world, and Claudio comes here and sees the same world here, and he's going to see it differently. Sylvia sees my world here, and she sees different. She sees as boring to be in the countryside. I see it through my vasanas. I see it as beautiful. I see the chicken as beautiful. I see the plants as beautiful. I see the silence as beautiful. So we see the world through the lens of our likes and dislikes, our vasanas. So when they get, Jivas do not experience object. They create by designing objects and rejecting some other objects, projecting adversity or rejection, adversity or repulsion towards certain objects. When they get what they want, they feel happy. When they don't, they feel unhappy. This is the most simple psychology of the human beings. Human beings, everybody lives for happiness. The human beings, they want to be happy in life, and we project happiness in the objects, and then we chase the objects. When we gain the objects, we get happy, but not really happy, okay? Because as we know, other needs and desires are there in the list waiting to be fulfilled, which are going to disturb the mind and prevent the mind to be a joyful mind again. So, but it's one thing, and then if they don't get, they go into irritation, frustration, even anger and rage, and sometimes deep depression as well. Yeah? So they feel unhappy if their desires are prevented, obstructed. The objects, the gain of the objects are obstructed. So they feel very unhappy. Isvara presents many objects to Jivas that do not trigger its vasanas. Those are the indifferent objects. So basically, we understood it. So we want to have a relationship with the world in a way that we are never really afraid or never really excited about anything. We just see everything as manifestation of the five elements, beautifully structured and colored by the power of Maya. But none of this is going to fulfill me. None of this will ever complete me, because my sense of Ananda depends on my mental state, and my mental state depends on my knowledge, my self-knowledge, the knowledge about my nature as Purna, as completion, as one without a second. Anything from you, Claudio? Verse 26, a question. Now we have one of those guys asking questions. It gets excited when we have the objectors. Now, the guy says, thought the mind may affect the objects perceived in the states of delusion, dream, remembering, and imagining. Does it affect the objects perceived through the sense in the awakened state? Let's read it again. Thought, though the mind may affect the objects perceived, because in the states of delusion, the mind is going to affect the objects. So what is the state of delusion? So delusion is being distinguished here from the dreaming state. The state of delusion can only be in the awakened state when you are perceiving things in a total delusional way, like perceiving the other person as the true source of your eternal happiness, right? So this is a delusional perception, projection. So here it says, like, though the mind may affect the object perceived when the mind is in the state of the dreaming. Yes, the dream is a little bit crazy, because it's a state that we cannot really assert and perceive and determine with clarity anything, So the dream state is a kind of delusional, distorted kind of state. The delusion happens, if in the awakened state we experience delusion, basically everybody does. We get into delusion. Delusion is the ultimate condition, referred as samsara. So samsara is the projection of value in the world, and then you believe that they are real, they are going to solve your problem, you chase them, the objects of the world, and then you go into all those emotional long list of negative, disturbing experience, feelings, emotions that are going to bring us to irritation and frustration, anger, and then in the end depression, and then in the end it's total delusion. Total delusion is when one cannot manage anymore to transact in the world. No, now I'm deluded. Please take me to that hospital there, because I failed completely. I'm delusional. Okay, so delusional is the ultimate experience of samsara. When your mind is destroyed by this total, a pursuit of objects as a means to complete yourself. So it says, okay, the mind may affect the objects when the mind is in a certain state of delusion or dreaming or imagining, remembering, imagining, is projecting, and anticipating and hoping. So all of that is dreaming, delusional, remembering, imagination, okay? So it's okay, it's understandable that those states of mind are going to be affecting or coloring or superimposing certain values to the object, so distorting the elements for what they are and creating these different perceptions, okay, which is colored by my vasanas, okay? So the point is, but can the mind, does it affect, can the objects be affected when they are perceived through the awaker? You know, the awaker is perceiving the universe, and then the awaker is in the awakened state, as it says, as it states. Okay, so I'm not delusional. I'm experiencing the screen of my computer, okay? But everybody experienced the tree, the dog, and the screen on a different way. And then which one is perceiving it really to the fact, to the reality of what things are. So everybody is going to perceive differently, okay? So it does not matter. I mean, in fact, as I already brought to the explanation here, it is through the awakened states that we perceive, we experience delusion in the most damaging way. Because when we experience delusion in the dream state or in the waking dreaming, you know, imagining state, you know, we say, okay, I was just dreaming, I was just playing, I was just imagining. No, I was dreaming in the middle of the night. No, I mean, that was a dream. It does not affect reality as it is. But in the awakened state is where delusion plays its role in deceiving the Jiva, you know, and creating, projecting objects on things that are not really there. So the question is, in the awakened states, you know, can the mind be changing the object? You know, can the mind project and affect the objects in the awakened state? I'm not delusional. I experience the world now. You are delusional in the awakened state. And then in the following verse, Vidyaranya is going to give the answer. So does it affect the object perceived through the sense in the awake state? It may be a different angle. It may be different from what I'm saying. He says, no. I said, yes, you know, that the mind in the awake states is also affecting the objects. But it's not to affect the objects literally, but it's perceiving the objects in a different way, because in the awake states we have delusion. We suffer from delusion. And then Shankaracharya say, no. Others point out the fact that the mind assumes the form of the external object with which it comes in contact and modifies that form to suit its purpose. So some people are going to say that the mind is going to affect in the awake state the external object because it's going to modify that namarupa, you know, to somehow to suit its purpose of, oh, no, this is an object of security, and then I modify that configuration. So some say that the external object, you know, is affected by the mind, but fundamentally, Shankaracharya say, no, it's not affected, okay? Why it's not affected? Most probably because the mind does not have the power to really change the configurations of Maya Isvara, you understand? But the mind has the power to literally, to project a delusional value into the 5 elements on the configurations in a way that the mind experiences what it perceives, and it perceives about the sense organs. The sense organs are truthful to what it perceives, but the mind is what? Is the interpreter. The mind is what's going to make sense of those sensory perception and say what? Oh, it's wonderful, attractive, yummy, I like it, I love it. Yeah? Oh, I am indifferent. Oh, I hate it. So the mind is the one who is going to interpret it, okay? So this verse debunks the persistent belief in the spiritual world that the physical object can be controlled by the mind. Exactly. So here Shankaracharya is saying, no, the mind cannot affect the physical material objects because there is no such a thing as mind over matter. Matter belongs to Isvara. Isvara creates the Vyavaharika, okay? And Jiva cannot change it. Although there are a lot of people who say, yes, you can bend things, you can solve things. And who knows, I never met anybody who did that kind of trick before my eyes. But but there is this persistent belief that the spirit world, that the physical object can be changed or controlled or attracted by the mind. It's mind over matter philosophy. It's really not correct to say that Jiva can change the configurations of the forms and the colors of the objects to suit its purpose, because the modification is unconscious. So when we say that Jiva, yes, affect the object, it does affect. But again, we have to say, does Jiva affect, or Jiva's vasana is going to do the job, which is basically Ishvara doing the job. Ishvara tricking the Jiva to see the objects in a way modified from what it is, just the basic 5 elements. It is an unconscious modification. Therefore, we should never say that the Jiva is really responsible for doing that, even on the Pratibhasika realm, level. Ishvara presents objects, which may be situation and events, to the Jivas, and Jivas, vasanas, unconsciously are going to interpret them. Experience is rarely value neutral for Jiva, even though objects are value neutral. So we always see the objects as something that are going to be of my like or my dislike. It's just a question of degrees. Some objects are going to provoke a reaction. Ooh, big time like number 10. And some are going to be like number 5, number 6, 7, 4. But then dislikes, -10. This is horrible. I hate it, So the degrees may be different, but very rarely we see things and we say, so what, It does not say anything, except when you understand the essential intrinsic nature of the object. Ishvara presents the objects. Jivas are going to interpret. Experience is rarely value neutral for the Jiva, even though objects are value neutral. For example, in the same dream mind, both wonderful and terrible things happen, which leads to the conclusion that the dream substance is value neutral. Wonderful and terrible things. So the dream substance, so what is the dream substance? The objects of the dream. That's why we don't take much seriously what happens in the dream state. We experience wonderful things, we experience tragic things, and then we say what? Oh no, it was just a dream state. It was just the dream object. The dream objects, they don't have real value. It's just a project. It's so easy for us to understand that it's a project in the dream state, but in the awake state, it's difficult for us to understand the Pratibhasika projection, which is the way we experience this Vyavaharika, you understand, which is again another projection. We are talking about 2 levels of projections. One is the Jiva projection in the dream state, and then the other is the Jiva projection in the awake state, and then of course there is the Maya Ishvara projection as well. For example, so therefore, in the dream state, we come to the conclusion that the dream world is without value. Ishvara is the dream mind, and Jiva's conditioning is the unfolding drama. Nice. So Ishvara is as if Ishvara is the dreaming mind, and the Jiva's conditioning is the unfolding drama. Okay. The actions of the hero and the villain in a film are just a neutral screen reflecting different objects. The fact that the vasanas unconsciously interpret reality may present a problem for the Jiva seeking moksha, no doubt about that. So if we don't really hold on to this teaching, we are seeking moksha, and we allow our vasanas keep interpreting our our interaction with the field. So we are going to be all the time disturbed, and we need a very focused and sattvic and stable mind. So we need to understand that and prevent this problem from happening. Now our vasanas unconsciously interpret reality according to my likes and dislikes. It can claim that it's not responsible for its problems and assumes a victim mentality. Well, this is another angle. So it is a problem that I allow my vasanas unconsciously to interpret reality, because that is going to disturb my faculty of discrimination, okay? But it is a problem because some people, once they get to understand this, that the vasanas are unconsciously interpreting reality, and then I have two options. I have say, okay, I want to reprogram my vasanas in a way that they don't project value to the object. This is a wise attitude. The unwise attitude, which is as damaging to the jiva seeking moksha, is to say that, okay, so it's my vasanas project value on the other, on the things, but I'm not my vasanas. So that is also a problem, because the person is not owning the fundamental level of the problem, which is the vasanas projecting value. It's just say, I'm not my vasanas, okay? So fundamentally, the jiva atma is not their vasanas, but for as long as the vasanas delude the jiva atma better face the fact that his being or hers being, she's being deluded by vasanas, and get control over those vasanas, filtering the vasanas, understanding the vasanas, and reprogramming one's vasana load. So that it could be also a problem for the one. He or she may go into denial, and the whole idea of many yanis, you find it in a lot of yanis in the Vedantic environment. It's not uncommon that people say, it doesn't matter, I'm not my vasana. It doesn't matter, I'm not my mind. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my words. I'm not my actions. You understand? It's not uncommon. You understand? Because you got the ultimate teaching, and you don't care to conform your thoughts, emotions, words, and deeds to the knowledge. Because if you have the knowledge, you cannot behave as an ignorant. You cannot have the knowledge and behave like an ignorant person, violating the laws. But the vasanas will continue, even if you deny, to produce agitation. The agitation was meaning to begin with, because they are going to be there, trying to control the objects of likes and dislikes. So you need karma yoga, and you need yana yoga, and Vipassana yoga to develop this stability, this equanimity, this dispassion towards objects, which is based on the understanding that the only source of joy and security is within my true nature, and I need to claim my true nature truly, not faking the notion that fake it until it serves a certain purpose, but only up to a certain level. You understand? You cannot fake forever, right, Lynn? Isvara is not going to suspend all the laws of karma just because Jiva is enlightened and is attached to its likes and dislikes, and Jiva is too attached to its story to make change, and he's lazy. He does not want to work with the ignorance. So the Jiva will say, okay, oh no, I'm something other than knowledge and ignorance. I am the self, and I don't care for ignorance in operation and knowledge in operation, because I am Brahman. So that is another trick, okay? So we carry on the verse 31st. Thought we went over the time a little bit. And we begin next week from the 31st. I'm going to, this week, Thursday we meet. Next week we meet on Monday again. And we meet on Thursday. Yeah, I leave on Friday. So next week we have our class, and then I will let you know what's going to be possible on the following week. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Vidyaranya. Thank you, Isvara. Thank you, my friends. We meet soon again. Isvara willing. Namaste.